Well, good evening. Thanks for joining us today. We're excited to open our 50th anniversary exhibit of the 1974 season. And of course, this room is dedicated to the whole decade of the 70s, but the room that we have dedicated just for this year is a little more highlights of the 74 season itself, which was obviously our first Super Bowl season, and really was a remarkable season. Started out that we had a players' strike, so our veteran players weren't even in training camp that year. Then Joe Gilliam wound up being the starting quarterback to start the season. Terry Bradshaw didn't start till a few games into the season, and of course the defense really was just so dominant, and the consistent part of the team. The record in the playoffs in terms of holding all those teams to less than 50 yards rushing every game was still stands as one of the most remarkable stretches in the playoff history. So we're excited about the season. Of course, Alumni Weekend this year will be dedicated to the 1974 team. So we'll be inviting Jack and his teammates back. But we're looking forward to celebrating the season, for the whole season. So it's great to be able to welcome one of the great players in our history, a member of the Hall of Fame and our Hall of Honor, and one of the great players on the 74 team, Jack Ham. Jack.
Thank you, Art. First of all, I cannot believe it's been 50 years since that first Super Bowl we were able to win. And I think there were a lot of things that, as Art kind of alluded to, a lot of things happened during the course of that year. With the players' strike initially, we didn't come into camp, but gave a lot of our rookies who were in camp time to, really get acclimated. And guys like, we talk so much about the '74 draft with Lynn Swann and Lambert and Mike Webster and John Stallworth. But I think for that year, the guy who probably made the most impact out of those guys was probably Jack Lambert, because he was a rookie on our football team, and he was calling the fronts and changing secondary coverages. We know a lot of things about Jack Lambert, and he's kind of a crazy guy, but he was also probably one of the smartest guys I've been around on the football field, because you don't come in as a rookie and play as well as he did in big games like that. And I guess that was the key for us defensively to kind of put us over the top. I think we were a good defense before that. We got an outstanding middle linebacker in Jack, and then we were able to, as Art said, able to dominate. Pro football has changed a lot since that first Super Bowl, but there's a lot of things that stayed the same. And number one is, if you're a defense, you have to take away the running game initially. You have to do it today, and we had to do it back then, and we were able to do that in our playoff games against Buffalo, against the Oakland Raiders, and against Minnesota as well. We made that Minnesota team one-dimensional. They were able to run the ball, I think, for 17 yards that entire game, and our defensive line was the key part. I was telling Art earlier, we lost Jack Lambert in the entire second half. We lost Andy Russell. We had two linebackers, and Dwight White, who was coming out of the sick bed, out of a hospital. But our front four was so dominant, and they controlled the line of scrimmage and made it a lot easier for all of us back there in the linebackers in the secondary. And so I take a lot of pride in that championship, because defensively and running the football, that's been the MO of the Steeler football, and that's the way we were able to win it. We ran for over 200 yards, hold the other team 17 yards rushing, and you end up winning a championship. So it was a lot of fun. I'm going to be glad to see some of my old teammates down the road here, so we can tell some lies about how good we really were. Okay? Thank you.
All right, we'll open it up for questions for either Jack or Art.
Hey, Jack. Jeff Haslett from KDK Radio. What do you remember about the reaction coming back to Pittsburgh after you guys won?
Oh, it was phenomenal in a sense, because normally you go from the Super Bowl, I was playing in the Pro Bowl, and I think the Pro Bowl was out in Los Angeles. So normally all the players would go out to LA and not come back. But the chief said, this team is coming back here. You can take a couple of days off before you go out to the Pro Bowl. And, the people from the airport in, and it was magical. We were trying to win this championship for a long time in this organization, finally able to do it. And the fan reaction, I think the fan reaction started back even in 1972 when Franco came on, and we were all of a sudden, we became a team to be reckoned with, and 74 put us over the top. But that fan base, when you're playing here in Pittsburgh, it is truly a home field advantage, and they were fabulous after that Super Bowl, but they've been fabulous for a long time.
All right, Jason Mackey from the Post Gazette. Are there any parts of the exhibit or just the 74 season in general that stand out to you that maybe you remember more fondly, more descriptively than others?
A lot of great memories, that's for sure. Certainly, seeing Andy Russell present the game ball to my grandfather stands out to me as, a special moment. And, but, it was just, in a lot of ways, a remarkable season. And as Jack and I both mentioned, the dominance of our defense is probably what really stands out the most. And holding those teams to, the rushing totals that they had in the playoffs was pretty incredible. So things like that are, just great memories.
Anyone else?
Jack, you mentioned Jack Lambert, and people don't realize how well his football IQ. Why did that linebacker core work so well together?
I'll tell you, the key was Andy Russell. I came here 5 or 6 years. Andy Russell had already been in the league. And I remember Dan Radakovich, who was my linebacker coach at Penn State before he left there in my senior year, when he was coaching here, he said to me, just whatever Andy Russell's doing out in the field, just mirror that, and you'll be fine. And Dan didn't have a whole lot to say normally about the players, but he saw how Andy Russell played, so I tried to. It was like on-the-job training for me. He's playing right linebacker, I'm playing on the left side, and we'd have conversations. And coaches are one thing, but when you're playing the game and you're out there, you need that kind of byplay from your fellow linebackers, and we kind of meshed together. But to be honest with you, our defense, as Art was talking about, when you have a front four that can get after it and shut down a running game and get after the quarterback, I'm involved in pass coverage a lot, and it makes it a whole lot easier for all of us. I played on a great front four at Penn State, and it meshed right into here when I came to Pittsburgh because, I'm smart enough to realize a lot of people weren't running my way because Jack Ham's over there, but there was L.C. Greenwood and Joe Green over there, and that was the key for us. So we had a great linebacking core, and we played well together, but our front four was the key to making us linebackers look pretty good.
Jack, Jenna Harmer, WPXI, what does it mean to you to see an exhibit like this, knowing it's such a big part of Steelers history that you yourself were part of?
Well, the thing that I admire the most about this is the fact that I was always the journey. I always loved the fact that 74 team, we went through a lot of things throughout the course of the year, switching quarterbacks in and out, all the time, and finally getting on with Bradshaw at the latter part, and then we got on a roll. We got on a roll like that, and the thing I enjoy is the teammates. The teammates, and I'll be glad to see them when we have that function. That's the thing I enjoy the most. I mean, it was a relief when we won the Super Bowl in New Orleans because you're going through a lot of pressure games and whatever, and you're doing it with each other. And it was when you could do that, you get lost into something bigger than you a team like that. And the players that were on the team were a classy bunch of guys that are friends to this day. It wasn't just football that kept us together. We're still friends today. So that's the thing I enjoyed most about that. And also the part he mentioned about the chief, getting the Super Bowl trophy in typical fashion. All he said was to Pete Rozelle was "Thank you." I mean, so it's it's the relationship you have, and that's the thing I'll remember the most.
Jack, Nick Faribault, PennLive.com. About that quarterback change, how did that give you guys adversity this season? How did the locker room kind of go around Bradshaw and allow you guys to go on that run?
You try to departmentalize because, you know, I'm not in the quarterback room or whatever, and it was going back and forth. I mean, Joe Gilliam had a hot hand early, but we weren't a team that's going to win games 35-27 kind of thing. We are the typical Steeler team game was the Super Bowl. I mean, we get physical, you get over 200 yards rushing, you stop the other team's running game, and that's the way is winning football for us. And most of the defense said, you know what, we don't control what's going on with the quarterback. And not that we didn't know, you know, obviously, and probably some players had their favorites. But when we got back to Bradshaw, we got back to the running game. We got back to, you know, the staple of what we were all about. We got back to the character of our football team. And that, all of a sudden, then you catch a ride like that, and now we're playing really good football all the way through.